And
yeah, there's a lot that goes into those.
Yeah. And I sort of conned him into it, but we did it and we pulled the whole thing off. So I'm really proud of us. And so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on Monday, the 20th of June, 2022, and Confluence 22 is in our rearview mirror. And it was a blast from beginning to end, I have to say. We were very lucky. Our play, The Analyst and the Rabbi, went off very well, I felt. And so far, I haven't heard any kvetches about it. And we had a lot of fun doing it. Over the next week, I will be publishing some of the sessions and the talk back from the play. When the play was over, we went across the street and had about a 2-hour conversation about the implications of the play and how it applies to today. And that was an extremely good dialogue with several mental health professionals present, and really talks about the mental health of our country right now, too. And so that will be posted on this YouTube channel through the week. I'm afraid after we got back, it was as if I had been run over by a freight train.
Yeah.
We didn't have a canceled flight, but we were supposed to get in 4 hours before we actually did get in, and we got in the house finally at 5 a.m. Friday morning, last Friday, and it was a challenge. I mean, I'm an old guy, so it definitely rolled me.
Right.
But we had some amazing experiences, including missing getting flooded out. Well, we got flooded out of Yellowstone, but we did get to go see some tremendous sights. So I'm going to share with you some of those images, because Dr. Jung was always about images. And so keeping in mind that this Confluence was conducted at Tim Holmes' studio in Helena, Montana, at 446 North Kobach Street in Helena, and at several other venues around the town. And I'm going to quickly sort of run you through some slide, not a slideshow per se, but we don't have slides anymore, but I'm going to quickly show you some things that we did. And so I guess let's see where to start. So because we were at the Continental Divide, and I want to show you that first. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. Going to start with this, and I'll do a share screen here. So I bought this Stetson hat about 30 years ago in Aspen, and Deb and I wore it during country dancing a little bit in the late 90s, and then it's been in my closet for 25 years. So Skip took the Stetson hat and put it on Tim Holmes's head on the last day. So it stayed in Montana, where it will get better use. Honestly, I only saw about 8 people with cowboy hats the entire time. So we Americans have lost our taste for cowboy hats, but they're quite apropos in And this is where Debbie and I stayed, which is across the street. This is the water bearer, and this is a bronze that Tim was commissioned to do in preparation for our Confluence. And there's a long story that goes with this. But in any case, one of the things that happened was that I wanted to buy 11 of these to give to certain other people. And we only got 7 out of the foundry, and then the foundry closed because the foundry operator had not been able to find people to do the work in Bozeman where this foundry was. So this thing is immensely heavy. It probably weighs 40 pounds if it weighs an ounce, including the marble bottom to it. And so here I am admiring it, very happy about that. This is the view across the street from Tim's house, which had been a home for wayward women, I think run by this church. The nuns lived in what is now Tim's studio. And this is the house Debbie and I stayed in across the street. But here's Tim's studio, complete with his various sculptures. Let's go through these quickly. My friend Lana Shaheen had her, from Gaza, had her paintings in our show. And so this was 3 of them. And some of you will remember the one here, which is called The Martyr's Mother Kept the Governor Waiting at the Peace Ceremony. And I actually own the original of that piece. And this is a artist proof, or yeah, this is a giclée print of the same thing. And then down here, this is Faceless Humanity, which are part of Lana's shows. Now, this is Tim's piece called Awaken Human, and it contains 21 figures in it. And at the bottom, the figures are sort of pulling one another down, but at the top, the people are helping one another to the top until someone makes it to the summit. That's the idea of it. And this swish mark was everywhere in Helena over this weekend, and that was an idea of Tim's, and he put it all over town. And here's Tim looking out on the church in his somewhat illegal open what, I don't know. Anyway, it's a door that leads to nowhere. And there's my wife, Debbie. We had a great time. This is a friend of mine, Ray Green, who I've known for 60 years. He was a high school friend. He and I used to ski in the Japanese Alps. And here's Tim's significant other, Sam, and she took Debbie to the chocolate shop, which was good. They had fun. And what were the kilns, Deb? What were the kilns for?
Oh, they were old pottery kilns.
Old pottery kilns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like lime kilns? Like
Pardon?
lime kilns,
I
or
guess, yeah. Yeah, it says lime kilns, Grizzly Gulch lime kilns, whatever that is. Anyway.
that's really, I was thinking about that yesterday. How cool those are, because I've always thought about native cultures, and are they digging deep holes to then smolder and using the earth, as the 4 kiln walls and covering, or doing this. And it was cool to see that these kilns there in Montana, rather than being dug into the ground, were actually structures that were kilns. So
Yeah. Well, and Helena was built up as a gold mining town originally, and it's all mined out now. But back in the day, in the 19th century, it was a gold rush town. And
so would they smelt gold and maybe in those kilns too, or?
I don't know, maybe they were definitely digging it up. So here's Skip and Tim in front of his studio here. And this is the bathtub we had in the Senator where Deb and I stayed. It was quite dangerous for me but this is the bed and breakfast we stayed in. It was very lovely. And this
Nice.
is the kitchen. And here's the whole armada of people. So Skip, Tim, Sam, Tim's significant other, John Jackson, Sherry Lovler. I think that's Judith Stone there. Leah Watson, Jessica Lee, who was the makeup artist for the play. And this is Wally Boss, who's Coeleen's son and who video recorded the entire event. And he's going to produce a documentary about it. And here's Coeleen herself for dinner the first night. And this is looking in the other direction. So you see here Bob Mannis's wife, Judy Green, and there is Coeleen there. So that's just the reverse direction of the picture. But what you see in the background here is the Helena Cathedral, which is an incredible place. It's got stained glass windows, which were just being finished at the beginning of World War I and in Germany. And so the Germans put them in safe storage through the entire war and then delivered them at the end of the war. Good evening, Art. Nice to see you tonight. Great to have you. So so these stained glass windows in this cathedral are really, really remarkable. And they were stored during World War I and then delivered to Helena right after. The building here on the left is the Holter Museum, where Tim's had a number of shows. And so let's see. Skip through some of these things. Okay, so here on the first day, we're going up to the Continental Divide, and the objective was to go to a spring, which is the purest water in the country because it's at the top of the Continental Divide, and the water flows either east or west from there. So this is the spring. It's right along the highway, and we drew water from it early on Friday morning, and Bob told some stories about it. Those will be published on this YouTube channel in the next couple of days. And Tim's talking about it. And this was then sacred water, which we used for our opening of our Confluence. And just give you a sense of these sites, because you can stop yourself on the video later and look at them in detail if you want to.
It's funny because on one of the pictures, several back up in the sky, there was this little triangular thing, and I'm like, is that an F-15 going vertical over there? And I zoomed in. It was your cursor. So.
My cursor. Yes. Yeah, okay.
But it looked like it was in the clouds way back in the back.
But so. Montana means a place of the mountains, I guess. And so there are 26 mountain ranges in western Montana. And it really shows. I mean, it's like the Alps in Switzerland. Really an incredible sight. And Tim had his studio all decked out with lilacs, as you see here. And let's see, did I figure out how to swap this? See if I can. change its direction. All right, I guess not. Wait a minute, what's this? Does that do it? No. Okay, these are guardian dogs, which are used in herds of sheep because they look like sheep, but they're quite ferocious when predators come around. That's a long story, so I'll leave it. Now here's Coeleen. She'll be 90 this September, she tells us. And the sculptures that she has here are copies of the Venus of Willendorf, which was the first known sculpture of a human being about 44,000 years ago. And this one, the more flesh-toned one, is meant to be actually a duplicate of the original Venus of Willendorf. And then these were several of Coeleen's variations on the idea of the Venus. And this one I particularly liked, so I bought that from Coeleen on the first day. And this is Leah Watson, who's in our advanced reading group. And here is a piece that she had done, especially for the Confluence. Obviously, it's a woman hanging on the cross and with a background of the American flag in distress. And I found this very powerful image as well. And Leah is the artist who did that. You can see how powerful it is when you look up close at it. Okay, so here was the first day on Friday, the 10th of June. We're 10 days past it now. I'm organizing a call with Khushbu Kantaria, who was in Bangalore, and she had agreed to do a call with us. And so this is showing me as I organize that call. And then this painting is Tim's painting of the Temenos, which is the place, the sacred place where things happen. And this is his syzygy, which has male and female figure, and they're connected. And here we have Khushbu coming in, and here she is giving her talk. She talked to us for about an hour, and that talk will be published shortly on the YouTube channel. Now here is Skip with Coeleen, obviously, and behind us is this wonderful ceramic quilt that Coeleen and 11 other women put together over a 7-month period, especially to be shown for the first time at the Confluence. And so each one of those little squares is a separate ceramic work of art. And I don't know yet if you can start to get the idea. Okay, each one has its own symbol on it. This one is the central symbol, and it is a snake biting its tail, which of course is the Ouroboros. But there are many other different symbols on this quilt, and it's quite an impressive piece. So it's not for sale. It wasn't for sale. It was just to show what you can do with ceramics. And then this is Sherry Lovler, and Sherry is a terrific poet, and she was talking about her poetry, which was here on this table, and her calligraphy and her paintings that she does. And so here she's showing a book that she put together, which on Sunday morning, she did a demonstration of how to make these books, and it was really an incredible experience. And this piece was done by Sherry. it's in preparation for the Confluence. It's a beautiful piece. And this one here too, which says hidden meaning. And so here we are listening to Sherry here. This is Tim's piece called The Trumpets of Bezalel. And that piece was hammered out of one sheet of steel. And so it took Tim 6 months to pound that out, one pound at a time. And he has a price on it of $38,000, which tells me that he does not want to sell it, but he would do if somebody would cough up enough money. And so here, Tim did a wonderful piece. I don't know if I can, probably you cannot hear it. You cannot hear this, right? But this piece, which looks like a bunch of metal junk. First of all, he's talking about this piece of Coeleen's, which was broken upon arrival. But this piece represents a human brain, and it does various things. It's quite a unique and interesting story he has here. So I'm not going to try to repeat what he said, but I will publish this video on the channel sometime this week. And Tim had also done a hidden meaning print, which is this. And here Tim's doing a talk about something I don't know. This was just a classic picture. I love this picture. This is our friend Diane Shamam she's from Texas. She and her husband drove up from Texas for the Confluence. And here Tim's talking about his water bearer piece that he did. And that's the piece that represents the human brain. And hopefully you'll be able to hear on, you'll be able to hear on the YouTube channel Tim's discussion of this piece, which is quite raucous and funny. And this is another style of Tim's, which is it's a metaphorical map, and here it's a model of the unconscious. And then here's another class that Tim's doing. Okay, so this was Saturday morning. On the left is John Jackson, and he's reading the story of Sleeping Beauty. And Bob Mannis is talking you through what the fairy tale means from a psychological point of view, because fairy tales were a traditional way of education of young people back before there was any good education. So they told stories at night, and they evolved over many years. And so here's Bob with the water bearer and Coeleen looking lovely. I don't know what was going on in this case. Deb, you were in this session, right?
Which one you're talking about?
This session where, you took this picture, I believe, where Bob has the water bearer in front of Coeleen.
Yes.
And what was going on then?
Oh boy, I don't remember.
Okay, well, anyway, the reason I ask is because we commissioned this piece to be a lifetime achievement award for Coeleen, who's been working in the trenches of Jungian psychology for about at least 50 years, if not 60. And so we actually gave this piece to her at the end of the play. I gave you the link to the play on today's notice, MailChimp notice. And so here's Coeleen getting into her class, which is about the collage. And so this is my wife Debbie's collage that she put it together over like a 4-hour period. Here, this is the basic scene of the play where there's a conversation between two people. And this is a one-act play, but it has 8 scenes, actually 9 scenes in the one act. And Carson Yaba, the cellist, provides the interlude between the scenes. And I'm not going to share this with you because you can go over and just listen to it. So here's my friend Ray taking a picture of this quilt, which is quite amazing. And Skip, this is me after the after our dress rehearsal. I had to be made up for the dress rehearsal. So this was my costume for the play. And you can see I've whited my mustache and eyebrows so that I look older in this picture, if I didn't look old enough. Now, Tim, this is Tim doing a Native American morning water ritual. And he takes you out into the pond, and then I'll just start it as I talk about it. So Tim takes people out into this pond and then does a little traditional ritual about the start of the day. I'm trying to get to the part where he's actually doing something. So he was doing a lot of talking at the beginning. But you can see that even though Tim is pushing toward 70 himself, he is quite strong and looks great. And so he says a prayer in each direction, and then upward and downward. So it was fun, and this was one of our participants who came from Columbus, Ohio, and we had a lot of fun. He brought his twin brother, which was the surprise we had yesterday. Turned out his brother has the handle of Patrick Hollywood, and many of you probably have seen Patrick Hollywood on the chat, but I never knew that Patrick Hollywood was Blake Miller's brother, and so I was a little surprised. But there's a nice goose taking care of her baby. Just show you that. Nice paddleboarding in there. And, so all species are having fun. Here's Jessica Lee. She was our makeup artist, and she was preparing to make us up. And up here above, hanging from this rod, are different kinds of hats that people would use in plays. So here's Tim introducing the play, and here are the people who are the box office for the play. This is Skip after the play, next to the main sign on the theater. And then this is our after party where we gathered a bunch of people together. We had a 2-hour conversation. What you're seeing here, this was a this was a conversation between 3 pastors and Tim, plus this is Tim's sister. We were doing this class in the Myrna Loy Theater, but in one of the sub theaters of the Myrna Loy, which is built in in the jail, the old jail of Helena, has been turned into a theater named after the famous actress of screen, Myrna Loy, from the early 20th century. So Tim's sister is the manager of the Myrna Loy Theater. And so this was a 2-hour conversation, very powerful, very interesting. And then here we have Coeleen trying to make a wabi-sabi book based on Sherry's teaching. And Coeleen has been obviously doing this sort of thing for a long time. So she had a very complex piece that she was doing. Here you can look over her shoulder a little bit. And here John and Sherry are doing a poetry class. And let's see what else we got here. Okay, so this is what came out of Coeleen's work when she got up. And then these are the books that people put together. This may be my wife's book. Is this your book, Deb? We're looking at
Red circle on the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this was my wife's first attempt at doing this type of painting, and she did it.
Can you go back to the first one, the one right after the cover?
Yeah, just a sec. Let's let it run through here, and then I'll go back. Okay.
Wow.
And so in 4 hours, Sherry taught everybody how to do that and how to make it into a book. And so there's the cover. And do you want to talk about your piece, Deb?
Oh, no, that's okay. They can see.
Okay, well, so Debbie had never done anything like this before, and she was just following Sherry's instructions, and this is what she got. And it's just an incredible piece of like Japanese art.
Yeah, that first piece inside, the cover's really excellent, but the first piece inside is stunning.
Yeah, wait a minute, I'll just hold it there.
That
This
right
one?
there is, yeah, the way it takes up the page to balance over to the right, empty space on the left, you know, the center's not in the middle. That's just has so many. I'll stop right there. I could go on for hours.
Yeah,
That piece is,
design features to it. Exactly. And the amazing thing was that everybody's book looked more or less of this quality when they were done. It was just wonderful what Sherry was able to show us in 4 hours. And so everybody got a book to come home with. And now Deb wants to do these for grandchildren as Christmas presents.
oh, cool.
And I think it really is cool. And so here we're at the community dinner here, and various people were present. And then, I'm sorry, this is the community dinner, but this is the talk back after the play when we were all still in costume and we were talking about the play. Here's Sherry getting made up, and here we are on stage. Now, this background video that Tim had going, none of us had seen this and until the dress rehearsal. So we had no idea what Tim was doing. And here, this is actually the performance, but in the dress rehearsal, we had never seen it. And all of a sudden we see this white flickering going on behind us, but we never saw what was in there until I later looked at the dress rehearsal video. But anyway, then these are Montana mountain pictures, just to give you a sense of this place. It's such a beautiful state. This is a windbreak.
Oh yeah, the planted trees across the plains.
Yep. And upstate New York, they do that with snow fences. But anyway, but
Mhm.
you can see how dramatic these mountains are. And then we were in Virginia City. We had planned on this day to be in Yellowstone, but the park was closed because of the flooding. So here's Bob and his wife in Virginia City, which is just outside the park. And it's basically an old ghost town. And this is the brothel, apparently. This is the lunch that we had. It was a special lunch. It came in a mason jar, and you turned the mason jar upside down, poured it out on your plate, and it was just perfect. And the obligatory stagecoach and the Pony Express. Okay, and Deb and I in the Fairweather Hotel. And then looking back at another range. And oh, we saw lots of Black Angus cows. Sometimes you would see moose or other creatures in the herds with these guys. And this is about the flooding from an earthquake in previous times. But this was a really special trip. I mean, we enjoyed this very much. And then here we are at the Museum of the Rockies, which is in Bozeman, Montana. And Montana is the main place where dinosaur bones have been found. And so you can see in their digs, this is what they would come up with. They'd find something that looked like a dig, and it would have all these bones all very near one another like this. Here's Deb next to a lower leg bone. And this is demonstrating that these guys were sometimes very colorful and had feathers. And so here it says, this is the Tentosaurus or whatever it is. So Tenontosaurus for dinner. So
It's cool. I just noticed that. So they have them formed with skin and feathers on one side, and then they're open up to like a sliced sagittal section of bones on the other side.
yeah, sometimes I'm not sure if this one was, but this was a very intimidating head.
Yeah,
Isn't that scary?
Imagine the reptile raptor eyes coming at you with that thing.
Mm-hmm. Of course, they never would, because they died out 65 million years ago. But anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's a couple more heads, and mother and child. This is a woolly mammoth. Here's the tusk and the head, and this is about a 3 foot tall 4-year-old boy standing next to it. And then these are Native American displays. Deb liked the airplane made out of cloth, and this object. Oh, and then here's the news about the flooding in Yellowstone. If you didn't see the news about this, it was quite destructive. And more than 100 houses in the city were washed away. And this is how they go when they're washed away. And there's some Conestoga wagons.
Mhm.
There's the Miller brothers, who are twins, and they're amazing operating together. They go back and forth. They're just always interacting. And
That's an incredible.
yeah, that's a 12-point buck. Or maybe it's 14 point. No, I think it's
Yeah,
12.
ask if anyone knows how to count.
Well, you count the
1, 2,
points,
3,
On one
4,
side or
5.
both? What's
all of them.
all four?
So this is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
12.
12. It's 12-point buck. Okay, now
But
this is,
it's massive. It's, I mean, the antlers, the rack on the buck.
yeah. Now this is the wine cellar of the restaurant we stopped at. I just decided to take a quick shot of it, and let's try that again.
Oh, that's a nice setup.
Yeah. There's Wally having fun, and Tim with his friend Sam. And we had a very nice dinner there. That's a beautiful picture of Blake Miller. And there is Patrick Hollywood. Let's see, what did I get here? We won't have audio, but Sam telling the stories out of school. She's an interesting lady. She has a tattoo on her back that is the name of her father, and she had his ashes put in the ink. So she literally has her father's ashes tattooed into her back. It's really
Wow.
quite impressive. This is one of these rivers that was overflowing as we were going by. And then this was I guess it was Thursday morning. Tim and I had to get up at 5 o'clock and take the Miller brothers to Bozeman for their flight home. And we happened to be able to get this shot, these shots of the moon over the mountains. Really wonderful trip. And then we got back to Livingston, where we were staying, and picked up the girls, and away we went. But this is so-called Paradise Valley here. It's quite a beautiful place, my goodness. And these are metal horses. Tim's not a big fan of this sculptural art, which is just metal and painted and so on. But and this is Deb with Tim with his piece in front of the Methodist church, where his father was the pastor for many years. And then me with Tim in the same place. All right, that's probably enough of this series. And then let's see if I've got anything else that's worthwhile in these imports. I think you might have seen most of them. So I'm just going to quickly go through. See if I miss any good stuff here. I think I pretty much got it. And as I said, this here was the talk back where we were talking after the play. And this was about 9:30 at night, and you can see how bright the light is in there. So anyway, that more or less the same stuff, I guess, in there. I'm fighting with my laptop about whether to import the stuff or not. It doesn't seem to want to, so I'm having trouble with that. So any questions about Confluence 22? We had a heck of a fun time. We connected up Patrick Hollywood, who is a welder, with Tim Holmes, who is a welder in his artistic career. So they've agreed to do a combined piece, which is really a big leg up for young Patrick there. and we connected up Blake, who was starting a shipping company, a trucking company, with a man who just sold his trucking company. And so that was good. And we got a commission for Tim to be executed over the coming year to build a.
That doesn't sound right.
What doesn't sound
A
right?
commission for Tim to be executed.
No, okay.
Nice one.
Thanks, Tim. A
Yeah, it's
commission
like
for
commas and
Tim.
pauses save
A
lives.
commission for Tim to do in clay or wax, and it will be 15 feet high, and it will be in front of that restaurant. And so
I'm so glad Deb pointed that out. I mean, I just yesterday saw this cartoon. It's like commas and pauses save lives. And the other person has all these question marks like, what?
right.
And you go, here's an example. And it's like, let's go eat, comma, grandma, period. And that's fine. You know, you're going to go. And then the next one is, let's go eat grandma, no comma. So
Okay.
Deb called you on the pause. That was just that's excellent.
So, and there's Patrick Hollywood right with us tonight. Hello there. Good to see you tonight. But, you know, frankly, I'm losing it. So I don't think I'm going to teach or start to do this part. I'm going to remake.
Yeah, we can launch in next week to resume part 2.
Yeah. We'll resume on the Anim and the Animus next week, because the return from Helena, fortunately we didn't have a flight that was canceled, but obviously there were a lot of them around us. And so Deb and I, after having had crackers for 24 hours as meals, got home at 5 a.m, and we were both famished. So before we went to bed, we had to make scrambled eggs just to feed ourselves.
Protein. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always call those, when it comes a marathon trip, I always just start to try to keep the spirits up. I call it airport preschool, because it's all just naps, orange juice, and crackers. It's like,
yeah,
a couple of cookies.
So I've lost my taste for traveling across the continental U.S. So it's okay to go to Hawaii or to Anchorage or something like that, where it's a long enough trip so the airline actually has to feed you, or going overseas, that's fine. And I've done a lot of that, so they treat you pretty well. But the American airlines within the continental U.S. are just treating people like cattle cars.
Well, you know, and I right after you mentioned that marathon journey by plane and sitting forever, immediately across my newsfeed comes this open letter from a Delta pilot to all customers about how almost all the airlines are not able to keep up with this new demand. They didn't ramp up properly. And the thing is, they're not ramping up properly. They're just kind of taking a beating and letting the beating go to the customers. So, I mean, it's,
right.
It's quite a shame.
And Deb and I are both, handicapped somewhat, and we both have canes. We can't walk long distances. And so we always order wheelchairs. And so I wanted to share this little gem here. We got off the plane and they put us in this sort of lean-to out in the middle of the tarmac. Has a lot of wheelchairs, but no pushers. Well, there were 2 pushers. And so Deb and one other lady got pushed away. But here I am in this thing alone, 90 degrees in Salt Lake City airport. I wasn't very happy. And then they take me up into the terminal and drop me off again. And so here I am alone again up in Salt Lake City airport, but no pusher. And finally, when they got going, I was stressed. And this is, I guess this is me at 5 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I guess I don't want to be showing all this, but
well, that was like when you were there alone. It is almost like a scene from the movie The Langoliers, where these things are eating time and the people disappear to where they're only like at one point 3 or 6 or 7 people across the whole airport. And it's interesting though, because being in a place like that and being alone, it's such an original experience, because you'd never have that at an airport. You're never alone.
Yeah. So Patrick, how was your flight back? You should report on your flight back. I mean, you got Tim and me to drop you at the airport at, I don't know, whatever it was, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was 5 when we left the house, and it was nice. It was a beautiful ride for Tim and me because we had the full moon rising over the mountains. And it was perfectly clear, and so we got to chat about a few things during that trip. But once we got to our airline, boy, that's when it really got nasty that day.
How was his flight?
Yeah, so Patrick is not responding, so perhaps he's going on to other things. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I think, oh, here he is. It was a long trip. We arrived home at 1:30 a.m. Wow, he had departed. He was supposed to depart at 7 a.m. from Bozeman. Had a layover, oh gosh. Had a layover in Dallas for 8 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Wrong airport to have. Wow.
But I do have to say that Patrick and his brother's presence at the Confluence was really, for me and for others, it was really a canary in the coal mine. We really enjoyed these 2 guys together. We enjoyed seeing how twins interact with one another, and we also enjoyed how seriously they were taking all the parts of the Confluence, and I think it's going to work out extremely well for both of them. And this is why I say that one needs to attend these things. I mean, Tim and I are gonna publish the various events of the Confluence over the next couple of weeks on our YouTube channels. But, that just gives you sort of the classroom stuff, but it doesn't show you anything about the interactions that these guys were having. And it was just wonderful. And Patrick here is going to get to do a collaborative piece with Tim Holmes, who's a world famous sculptor. And
that's just really cool. I mean,
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and Patrick says, traveling across the country is not really fun. You are correct, but I was the only one who had 3 seats all to myself on an entire airplane from Montana to Dallas. Wow. Okay, well, you were the lucky one, because most of the flights over the weekend were full. And I was just glad I was handicapped, because this is the device that gets you through security easily, and also gets you a ride between gates. And the gates in Atlanta were like 1.5 miles. We actually had to take a train between between two of the terminals, for example. And the distances were immense. But anyway, so you lucked out, Patrick. Good. And
But then on travel, it's
again?
interesting in travel for the last year. Interesting with travel last year, it's not like the crapshoot of Moses parting the Red Sea, because I mean, even last year when everyone's like trying to run out, and when I moved here, when I hopped on the plane, there was no rumble of delays or until right when we took off, right before you shut off your phone and all this, and and then we landed 15 minutes early, and then text from my mom of, "Wow, glad you made it," because everything else is canceled all day long for the rest of the. So it's like almost like the last flight off the island, so to speak. I mean,
yeah.
And
so
you
anyway,
guys really
maybe the airlines will get their act together. I heard the president of United Airlines whining, asking for government assistance for something that they should have been able to predict and fix themselves. So why should we throw money at them? They just want us. They just want us to throw money at them. That's our style now. Is
the offhand public transportation. It's like
right, and they think if there's a $1,200 payment to the average American, that's socialism. But when we bail out the airlines or bail out the auto industry or what have you, that's not socialism, that's capitalism. Yeah, right. I think we better start examining these things a little more carefully. Okay, I'm having eyelid heaviness troubles here after an exhausting week, and so I'm going to have to say good night. If you are let's see, I can give you the link for the advanced reading group. If you're not a member and you want to meet with us on Monday afternoons at 1 p.m. Eastern time, then you can join our advanced reading group, and I'll give you the sign up for all of our events here on the chat, so that this is on the YouTube chat, and then this is on the chat here on Zoom. And so you can go to that link and sign up for anything you want. Then you'll get the coordinates for that event about within an hour of the actual start. And so our next event, as I said, is Wednesday at 1 p.m. And I know that Coeleen is very excited about taking on the next Confluence, which will be sponsored by her and her team in Santa Cruz, California. And she said yesterday, I had a private chat with her, and she said they're chomping at the bit to get going on it. So anyway, don't forget to check out our play. If you received the announcement for tonight's event, you will have the link. And let's see, I guess I can just go to the homepage of this YouTube channel just by clicking where it says the name of the channel, and that will take you to the video of the play, which also has a very good introduction by Tim Holmes, and it also has a delightful award ceremony at the end, with Coeleen expressing her surprise that we gave her this water bearer. And so if you haven't seen that, make sure you see that last 15-minute segment, because it's kind of fun to see how Coeleen reacted. So anyway, thank you all for coming tonight. I will see you next week. And I will also, and Jordan and I will both be seeing you on Wednesday if you come to the advanced group, and we will see you next Sunday as well at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I think that's a little too early for most Americans, since most of the internet is in California, it seems. That's 6 a.m. So I wasn't trying to get Californians for that time. I was trying to get Chinese and also people from Europe. And so some of them, just in case, for example, lives in Denmark. And so I was trying to make it easier for members like Justin to come see our events at that hour. But anyway, anyone's welcome, and you can follow the links and get notified when we have events. So thank you, Jordan. How are you feeling? Are you better now?
That stuff's all gone. I'm just generally exhausted. I think I'm getting used to sitting in the sun under the umbrella even. I mean, so there's a whole resuming this season kind of thing. Plus, there's been a lot of rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so working less than more. So feeling, I think, exhausted just because of, honestly, it's like if you sleep too much, that's really tiring.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting back in the swing.
What's the altitude in Taos?
7,000, right there around.
Oh boy, that would be rough for me, actually. I mean, I could come up there for a few hours, but I know I have trouble even in Denver at 5,200.
Yeah, people always laugh at me here when they're like, yeah, you always say when you come down from the cabin, we're at 7,000 feet, Jordan. And I'm like, well, my cabin's at 9,300. So.
Right.
It's like, so, you know, if I need some fresh air, I'll just come down here.
And Joel, I hope you get a chance to take a look at the play before Wednesday. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Joel Fernando Brinco Nascimento is a Jungian analyst from Brazil, from, I think it's Victoria, but Brazil. It's an island, and he's been with us quite a few times on Sunday mornings, and I'd love to hear your reaction to the performance of the play. But anyway, I'm going to say goodnight before I fall asleep at the wheel here.